Good morning and welcome to Soft Spot, or shall I say welcome back to Soft Spot, because I've been away from you for a week and I missed you guys. I missed doing this show, right? And I pretty much spent Sunday sitting in a barracks of a sort. I was stayed at a state trooper academy because I was up there doing a training for my job. And no, I'm not a state trooper. So let me just get this off first. Yes, I did go and see and enjoy Black Panther. Certainly not a superhero movie that I intended to see. Definitely a hero, and definitely had a lot of messages in it, from lies, loyalty, secrets, consistency. It had a lot of things that are very significant to the evolvement, I'll say, of a sort, for lack of a better word, from then to now, because it had the millennials in there. You know, it had those, you know, the technological advances that have come about and the relationship between the millennials and this whole technological world that we live in today. A lot of spirituality in it. There were a lot of things that were in the film, and it was a very intense film. There was not a dull moment. It was constant eye contact with the screen. It was just one of those kind of films, and something I would actually go see a second time, because I'm sure I missed some things in there, but it was a good movie. So anywho, today's show is hinged on the prior shows, and I try to do a continuum, because you know, what often happens is you'll do a show, or you'll see a show on one particular topic, and then that's it. You won't hear anything else about that topic. You won't hear any follow-ups, and it won't keep you on course. When you're trying to change, when you're trying to do something different in your life, you have to have the message being sent to you on a regular basis, on a consistent basis, right? Therefore, it's important, first of all, for you to tune in to Soft Spot every Sunday at 9 a.m., right? So that way you can kind of keep it on your plate. You got to keep it on your plate, right? Because what happens is, if you go to a different restaurant and you get something totally different, you begin to feed yourself that. And that's why I try to be consistent in making sure I do the show every week when I can. If I can't do it, I mean, you know, I just can't. I don't have the kind of connection to allow me to do a show, and I just won't do it. But I'm saying all this to say that part of change involves ongoing messages that are relevant to your chosen path, right? If you want to go to the left, you can go to the left. If you want to go to the right, you can go to the right. But you have to choose which way you want to go, and you have to stay the course. So each one of the shows that I do, I try to keep you on course and try to mix it up so you don't be focused on just one thing, but that you actually see how complex the issue really is. As a human being, we're very complex, we're very complicated, just in our creation alone, right? And now here you are in a relationship with another person, right? Another human being who's as complicated, if not more complicated than you, right? And more complex than you, right? Because of a certain set of issues. As long as things continue to happen in one's life and there's no resolve to it, what's going to happen ultimately is that there's going to be a lot of confusion, and it's going to be a real big fallout. So you really got to start looking at the direction you want to go in, and who you want to go in that direction with, right? Which is pretty much segue for today's show, on, is it attachment or is it love? It's like a love versus attachment thing. Because a lot of times what we term as being in love is actually just being attached to. You know, you have a sense of responsibility to that person in many ways. So what we're going to do is today we're just going to look at love versus attachment and kind of see like where you are, not just where you are, where I am, right? Because it's not just a place that you have been or are, it's also a place that I have been and may still be. But that's something that you know, it's not for me to tell you to figure out, but it's for me to figure out for myself. So again, we're learning these things together. This is not just something that I apply just to you, right? This works for both of us. So that's what makes this really important and special, because it's information that we're both getting, right, to help us stay on our chosen paths. So there's an article that I came across. I thought it was a pretty good article. 5 differences between real love and attachment. And this is on the lifehack.org. That's lifehack.org. So if you want to follow along, you can go to that article, right? And the title of the article is 5 differences between real love and attachment. Now, I don't get into the whole real love. It's like a real man and a real father and all this kind of real. Like, if you're a human being, you're real. So whatever application you put to it is what it is. But anywho, 5 differences between real love and attachment. And the article is by, I want to say, Thibaut Meurisse. Please forgive me if I pronounce it. I'm sure I beat it up. I'm sorry. But the article is at lifehack.org, and I'm just giving credit to the author of the article, who is also the founder of whatispersonaldevelopment.org, where you can actually find his full bio. So again, my apologies for just destroying your name. I mean, no disrespect by it, but I just couldn't get it together. Okay, so the article. Are you in love with your partner, or are you just attached to them? Love can be complicated, but this article explains a few of the differences between attachment and real love. I hope that these explanations will aid you in nurturing your current relationship or creating one based on genuine love in the future. Okay, so important to understand. So there's a list of 5 things here, 5 differences between real love and attachment. And again, most of these articles I have not read. I have pretty much perused the article for its content and see if it's in alignment with what I value. And sometimes I come across things in these articles along the way that I find that I'm in disagreement with, but it's okay. We can disagree without being disagreeable. Like, I don't agree with real love. It's just love, right? Okay, so the first thing on the list is love is selfless. Attachment is selfish, right? When you're in love, you focus on making the other person happy. You're always thinking of ways to make sure that your partner feels loved and fulfilled. You aren't keeping score, arguing over who helps more, or fighting over who is supposed to wash the dishes. You don't emotionally blackmail your partner, try to manipulate them, or seek to dominate the relationship. When you're merely attached to someone, well, let's focus on when you're in love, on that part first. So, it's important to understand that when we're with someone, we should be enhancing the joy they already have in their lives. We will come upon people who portray such, but don't really own such. And what I mean by that is there will be many people who, you may encounter, who give the impression that they got it going on, that they got their lives together, that they, they know how to make things happen in life, right? They give this whole spread of imagery, but then when it comes to the core, you find out different. You find out they really don't love themselves, that they really don't know how to adequately love someone because they have so much unresolved within them, right? That they don't have the capacity. And now you have to struggle along with this, trying to get them to the capacity where they're just not ready to do that, right? Because they're not in that place. And you can't get them in that place. I need you to understand that. You can't get a person to that place of happiness in their life, no matter what you try to do. You just need to clearly understand that. If you're not happy when I meet you, if your core is in disarray when I meet you, your core will be that way until you do something about it, right? So when you talk about making a person happy, right? Like, I'm the kind of guy, like, I'll go to the store. I can be in the mall, I can be, in the supermarket, right? But I'm not just in there getting things for myself. If I know you like a particular thing, I'm going to make sure I throw that in the cart. I'm going to throw that in the cart too, right? Before I leave the house, I may very well check those things that you most adore and see to it that I get it when I go, right? Because I'm always aware of that person, right? I want to make sure you're happy. I don't want you to have to, be without it of a sort, right? I'm going to make sure you have it, right? If I go, like, I have a friend in Philly who's a jeweler, right? Him and I became friends. It's funny, we met back in '94. Then I started going to him, so often that we actually became friends. Our children know, one another. He knows my children. I know his children. I've sent a lot of people to him, but we became friends throughout the years. But whenever I go by there, I would always just be, looking and I would always, get a piece of jewelry for whoever it was that I was seeing. I mean, I've been friends with George for some time, since '94. But I would always, look and say, well, George, I like that there. And, what's it, a birthday, Sabir? Is it a anniversary? Nah, it's just, I wanted to have it. He's like, man, I hate guys like you. But he was saying it in jokingly, but, yeah, it's funny because he would always, joke about, yo, guys like you, man, it's like, it ain't many of y'all around. Y'all messing it up for guys like me, but whenever I would go, I would just go get a piece of jewelry. I mean, you like jewelry. If I know you like jewelry, why wouldn't I get you some? That's what I think you should have, because that's what you like. So it's things like that. You're always focusing on, making a person happy. And then, like I talked about in one of the previous shows, that I don't have a problem yielding. I don't always have to go where I want to go. We may very well decide that we want to go, that we're going to a particular place, and I was the one who selected that place, and but today may be the day where, like, you really, really feel like you want to go over to this place today, so we can go to the other place next time. I mean, that's just some finances involved, and it's not always just about the money. I mean, I've canceled things, that I've already paid for in the past, because it is what it is. But what I'm saying is, yielding. There's nothing wrong with yielding. There's nothing wrong with compromising. There's nothing wrong with ensuring your partner is happy. I want you to be happy, right? Because if you're happy, I'm happy, right? I'm happy that you're happy, right? And then it's a happy home. It's a peaceful environment, right? But you always got to think about that person, right? Like, I never had a woman wash my clothes. Well, I never had a woman who had to wash my clothes. If she did, she scooped them up and washed them, right? And that's fine. But overall, I wash my own clothes, I iron my own clothes. I can tell you for a fact, there were only 2 incidences where a woman has ironed my clothes, right? In one of those instances, I was at work and did an all-nighter preparing for an inspection, and the clothes got ironed for me. Of course, I scrutinized the hell out of them because they had to be ironed a particular way, but I was thankful. And another time, I had to go to the hospital, and she knew I wasn't going to leave out of the hospital in no wrinkled clothes, period. So, but I wash dishes, I cook, right? I do all those things. So I don't have a problem coming in. If you're tired, I can cook, right? I don't have a problem getting up in the morning on a Saturday, Sunday morning. You know, we both worked all week. So what? I'm not just because I'm a man, I'm supposed to be the one who lays back and gets fed. No, I get up and fix breakfast. I do those things. I have a problem doing those kind of things, right? Because sometimes you're tired too. I understand that. So it's not about who did what more and who does what more. It's a matter of, do we share the responsibilities? Do we share the responsibilities? You know, if I make more money than you, like, why can't I take some of those bills and just let you be able to, you know, enjoy some of your money too? You should. You should. This whole theory of the man got to pay for everything. No, I can't pay for everything. And if you want to live beyond that which I am capable of, then you need to get a job too. But you definitely need to help. You don't sit back and see me struggle. You don't sit back and see me, you know, work week to week and then don't have any money myself just so we can live. No, that's not my plan for life. A plan that we should discuss as well, because I like to travel, I like to go places, I like to do things. I like to have things. If I'm working and the only thing I'm doing is paying bills, that's no kind of existence that I want to have. So we should definitely share those responsibilities, and these are things that I've been conditioned to do much of my life. As a young man, you know, I was doing those things. I was looking out. I was making sure things were done. I would babysit if you needed some time for yourself, and you weren't even my woman. I lived with a couple of friends, and you know, I sometimes I just wanted to go out, and I didn't have a problem watching the kids. I had a problem with that. I had a problem. Listen, go ahead, y'all. Go. I'll do this. I'll wash the dishes. How about I'll sweep and mop. How about I vacuum? How about I do those things? You know, that's who I am. I'm built like that. That's what I do. Right? Now, when you're merely attached to someone, you're focused upon the ways in which they can make you happy. I'm back at the article, y'all. You become heavily dependent upon your partner and may even try to control him or her to avoid abandonment. Instead of confronting your own issues, you use your partner to improve your self-esteem and fill a void within you. You believe that they are responsible for your happiness and become frustrated and angry if they fail to bring you to contentment. Now just listen to that. Because you know what? I'm sure I just said something, a mouthful of something, that showed you who you're with, or even who you are. So let me read that again. Right? When you're merely attached to someone, you're focused upon the ways in which they can make you happy. What have you done for me lately? Kind of mindset. You become heavily dependent upon your partner and may even try to control him or her to avoid abandonment. Instead of confronting your own issues, you use your partner to improve your self-esteem and fill a void within you. Your toes hurt? Because I ain't stepping lightly. You believe that they are responsible for your happiness and become frustrated and angry if they fail to bring you contentment. Think about it. That's what you think. So everything that the person does has to be to satisfy you. Everything, no matter what it is. And if you're in disagreement with them, it's hell to pay. It's hell to pay. And this is the part that talks about here where they become frustrated and angry, right? Here's the other part. So they become frustrated and angry, but here's the part where they use you to improve their self-esteem and fill voids. Think about it. You're frustrated and angry because of what you can't deal with within yourself. Because of your self-esteem issues. So you beat up on me. It makes you feel like a big person. So you beat up on me and you say things to me and you do things to me, right? Right? So you can feel good about you because you're justifying within yourself why you're doing it. Well, if you would have done this, I wouldn't have done that. Right? If you would do this, then things would be okay. And because you don't want a person to leave you, you suck it up. You take ownership of something that doesn't belong to you, right? But so the person won't leave you so things will get better, because that's what they said. Things wouldn't be this way if you would only do such and such. So you don't see a whole lot of harm in doing that thing, whatever it may be. But then here you don't see where you've been manipulated. Again. That's selfish. That's selfish. You strip everything from me. You take everything from me. All in the name of, if you want me to be happy. Or if you love me, you'll do this. No. Okay? And again, I'm reading from the article on lifehack.org, 5 differences between real love and attachment. And we are on number 2 now. We are on number 2. So, 2, love is liberating. Attachment is controlling. Mutual love allows you to be your true self. Your partner encourages you to be who you genuinely are. And you won't be afraid to expose your weaknesses. Mutual trust develops and becomes a powerful catalyst for personal growth for both of you. Love is never controlling. In actuality, love transcends control. Your partner's ability to accept you for who you are and encourage you to pursue your dreams allows you to let go of the need to control their life. That's love. That's mutual love, right? And what you'll find is that in some cases, people are in relationships where they can't fully be themselves. Well, let me change that. There's things that have transpired between the two people, right? And somewhere in there, one, and in some cases both, have developed a feeling that when they are this way, this person tends to frown upon it. Therefore, they stop being this way, whatever that way is, right? But you should be able to be who you are anytime you want to be that person. Some days I might be 5. Some days I may be 15. Some days I may be 55. Well, I'm 57 now, but you understand what I'm saying? So some days I might want to be that little boy. Let me be that little boy, right? I'm not talking about in an irresponsible sense, little boy. I'm talking about some days I want to have fun, like a 5-year-old. Some days I get new things and I'm like a 5-year-old. That's what the space I'm in. It's okay. You know, again, not being an irresponsible child, but just like I'm having fun. Or some days I may be 15. I may, have one of those moments, of my teen years, right? So, but I should be able to be that way anytime I want to, right? I like to sing. I've only done that once ever, with a woman, right? I've done it with my daughter, Mercedes. We were working on a project, and but I like singing. I like doing a lot of things, and I found myself not feeling comfortable enough to do those things in most of the relationships I've been in. And it's no blame on them. It's just me taking a look at me and why I didn't do certain things, with those people. What was it that was missing, from that relationship for me, not of them, but for me, that I just wasn't there with them. And that's why I'm talking about love versus attachment, because that's an area of my life, one of those other areas of the complex self that I'm looking at, right? Because a lot of times, because I take ownership and responsibility for a relationship that I'm in, I do develop a level of attachment that is not love. It's just out of responsible living. And being able to define the boundaries is real important for me. It's real important for me to develop those boundary lines. Okay, so you don't want to take responsibility for yourself. You want to be this way, you want to be that way. I can't, there's nothing I can do to change that, right? Even when you're in love with the person, you still have to establish boundaries. Because if you don't establish boundaries when you're with the person, even one you're in love with, even if you're married to them, there still has to be some boundaries, right? Because you need to always remember that at the end of the day, right, you could be by yourself again, because this relationship just went to the left, and those lines that were not established, right, those boundary lines that were not established is the reason why this happened. Excuse me. You have to keep boundaries in place and understand that you can't allow someone, anyone, to cross that line which jeopardizes you, your values, your beliefs, your morals, your condition. You understand what I'm saying? There's things that you have to be very clear on. Right? Now somebody can say, okay, well, give me an example. Okay, infidelity. Right? Some people would say outright, listen, he cheats, she cheats, I'm out. Others will say, well, we're going to work it out, because he or she promised not to do it again. Right? Who's wrong? Neither are wrong. It's a choice. It's a choice. It's a matter of stay within your boundaries. If a person goes outside of those boundaries, what are you going to do about it? Because at the end of the day, either you live with it or you leave it. And oftentimes what happens is people stay in situations where infidelity happens, and it tarnishes and taints and destroys the core of the relationship for years to come. And it's never going to be the same. It's never going to be what it started out to be. It's never going to be any different. So when you look at the freedom, right, that comes with being in a relationship where love has been allowed to transcend the control, it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing, because you already know where the two of you are. It's not about, oh, I trust her, I trust him, they wouldn't do this, they wouldn't do that. It's not even about those things. It's about, do you take this seriously? Do you take this, right, to be of a major concern in terms of this? I mean, my heart, right? My heart. Do you take this for granted? Or do you value it? Do you value it? And how do you value it? You don't. I'm not looking for you to buy me things. I'm looking for how you talk to me, how you treat me, how you treat things that I give to you of me. I can buy my own self things. I don't need you to buy me things, because that's not love for me. That's not what I'm looking for. The attachment, on the other hand, tends to fuel controlling behavior. And you have to look at what controlling behavior is. And again, when you're taking someone away from being who they are, dressing the way they want to dress, talking the way they want to talk, being with friends who they want to be with, when you attempt to change any of those things, that is controlling behavior. It's controlling behavior. When you met her, she was wearing them spandex pants, and you were on top of it. Now that y'all are together, you don't want her wearing spandex pants. Right? And you make the argument, well, at that time you were single, you didn't have a man, so when you have a man, you should dress differently. Did you have that understanding? Did she say that she would dress differently if she had a man? That's the first thing. The second thing is, y'all been together for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. Have y'all gotten married yet? Why? Why have you not gotten married yet? Did y'all talk about whether you want to get married or not? Is she thinking that you're going to ask her to marry, and you have no intention on asking to marry? Well, what's happening here? Because what tends to happen is, because that can be a form of control as well. When you act this way, when you do this, we'll get married. Or when you stop doing this and when you stop doing that, we'll get married. But I was doing that when you met me. So why do I need to stop? You may discourage your partner from spending time with their friends, play mind games, or put an unhealthy level of focus on pleasing them. Right? You may even try to manipulate them into staying with you, regardless of their feelings. Listen, people, do a lot of things, all in the name of love, right? But what you have to look at is, when entering into a situation, how was it established? Right? That's the first thing. How was this relationship established? Did we meet at the club, you dropped it like it was hot, we went home and got it in, and we've been getting it in ever since? And that's how it's going to be? Right? Because there's also familiarity. Right? Familiarity is what keeps people returning to so-called dead relationships, but because the sex was good, we stay together. Because we get high together. Because, this is our flow. Was that connection? What happens when one decides they don't want to get high anymore? What happens when one decides that that's not their flow anymore, that they've outgrown that circumstance? That don't mean they've outgrown you. Right? What happens in those situations? Think about it. So when you look at attachment, you just stay for what? Not because of love, right? Because you can't leave them. They make you feel like you can't leave them, right? They tug on your heartstrings. They manipulate you, right? Into believing that it's their fault. It's your fault that things are this way. Well, just because you stop doing it, don't mean I got to stop doing it too. Well, says who? And if you continue to do that, what comes along with that? See, things come along with what you continue to do. Right? So it's about looking at the parameters of the circumstance. How does this look if you continue to do this and I don't? That means I'm going this way and you're going that way, because my mind becomes clearer when I stop doing certain things. I know that was the case for me. When I stopped living the lifestyle that I was living, right, I stopped having the desire to do certain things, and my desire to do better things increased. And I've stayed on that course ever since. So it talks about the mind games, right? When I'm out, the text messages that you send me, right? The phone calls that I receive from you during certain parts of the day when you're out or I'm in the house, and you just call me and you'll just say things and you'll just do things, right, that are just irritating, that are just annoying. You'll just do those things just to keep things going, right? But always causing the situation where you're actually provoking confrontation from me, right? So when I say something to you about the behavior, about the message you left, about the text message you sent me, about the phone call, when I say something to you about it, it becomes an argument automatically. But that was your intent. You manipulated the situation to have the argument. Because once you provoke the situation and you get that reaction from me, the anticipated one, that was your intent. So now it's an argument, and now it's a matter of, now I feel bad about the argument because I don't want to be in that space. You know I don't want to be in that space, but you drew it from me so I can be apologetic, right? And, you know, have to make up to you, so that way you're always getting something from me, even if it's negative attention, you still get it. But it still shows that I'm still connected, and that's what you want. You don't want the disconnect to happen. I know it sounds confusing, doesn't it? But damn, people do this every day. Some people do this every day, and they're comfortable with it. That's how they cope with their own lives. That's how they avoid taking responsibility and addressing other things in their lives. People do it all the time. They do it all the time, right? All the time. See, this is a matter of truth and honesty, right? It is. This is about truth and honesty. Because I can say all day long, I'm about love, I'm about love, I'm about love. But what do I do when love ain't around me? Right? What do I do when love ain't around me? And why am I staying with this situation if I'm involved in another situation? Right? If I'm running around banging every Mary Jane and Sue and I got a woman at home, why am I not leaving that situation? Right? Why am I not leaving? If I can take the risk to go be with somebody else when I have this good woman who I call her at home, why am I still in this relationship? You got to ask yourself those things, because these things are just as important. Because you can't have a chick on the side, right, if you truly love this person and this is where you want to be. Because if you're out there doing something else, this is attachment, not love. Right? Or has it reversed? Is this love and that attachment? Because that's what happens. Because one situation turns into another, and they both begin to, as sick and unhealthy it is to say this, begin to be your balance. So you feel like because you're attached to this situation, you met somebody here, and you love this person over here, that love for that person who you're sneaking around with helps bring balance into the unhealthy situation of attachment that you're in. Did I say that right, or did you not understand it? Or did I step on your feet again? Because that's your reality. Because that's what happens. Been there, done that. You can't fix an unhealthy situation with another unhealthy situation. It's like having two sicknesses at one time. That's all you're doing. That's all you're doing. Been there and done that. Got the t-shirt. Hanging up. Done framed it. That doesn't work, folks. It does not work. So again, when you talk about love and attachment, you have to look at what love is. Right? Look at what love is. Because you do things for me. Are you loving me the way I need to be loved? Are you loving me the way you want to love me? Which is a whole nother show. Because you can love me. You can give me whatever it is that you can give. Right? But along the way, you're supposed to be learning about me. Right? And learning how I need to be loved as well. Which goes back to number one. Right? You do things for me because you think of me often. Because you want me to have those things. Right? You hug me, you hold me, you walk down the street holding my hand because you want to, because you love me. Right? So, let's go back to the article, number 3. Love is mutual growth. Attachment is encumbering. If you're in love, you and your partner will grow together. If you're in love, you and your partner will grow together. When both of you work to become the best versions of yourselves, you'll become better than you could have on your own. In short, your partner stimulates your growth, and you do the same for them. And you know what? And I said this on another show, right? And understand this, that anything that I say on this show, right, is live. It's live on Facebook. It's live on Twitter. The mic is on. Everybody can hear me. I'll take anyone who I've been in a relationship with throughout all of my life to come forth and to say to me, right, that I have never been encouraging, motivating, or inspiring to them. Well, I can't say never. Let me change that. Since 1994, because I was a beast before that. So let me be real here. Before anyone that I've been, well, even my first wife. I married in 87. Was it 87? 87, right? Can never say that I wasn't encouraging. Hell, we worked together in business. That's how we connected in business, right? But I mean, on the real, being a whole person, right? That didn't start taking place until '94. But I encourage you to go to school, go back to school, right? To look for other opportunities if you're dissatisfied with current employment, right? Start business if that's what you want to do. You start business. Listen, I'm about that. Why wouldn't I? You know, I'll bring you into what it is that I'm doing. There's an aspect of you that can contribute to this if you want that. What do you want? What do you want to do? Period. What do you want to do? Looking at growing together. And I found that that's one of the major pitfalls for me in my previous relationships, specifically marriages, that we didn't grow together. For whatever reason. I'm not saying they were wrong, not saying that I was right, but we didn't grow together. We weren't moving forward together. Like they weren't pursuing their hopes, dreams, and aspirations, you know, along with, you know, stabilizing the core of self in order to stay that course, right? We just weren't growing together because you can be pursuing hopes, dreams, and aspirations and have those things, but your core is just terrible. It's unhealthy. That means everything else with us is going to be unhealthy, right? And growing together, for me, is growing up, maturing, developing, along with achieving things outside of self. Because if the inside of self is not right, it's not going to matter. Because everything else is just going to come crashing down around you in a matter of time. Or you'll be by yourself and just be, you know, successful in business, but you'll be by yourself. Right? So it's a matter of like when people say that I can do bad by myself, well, you can do good by yourself, but you can do better with another person, right? Because we can kind of bounce things off of one another. You got a sounding board. You got somebody who believes in you. You got somebody who encourages you and motivates you. And I talked about that early on in the show, right? That we all need people around us, a person around us, you know, who is encouraging, who is motivating, who is inspiring, you know, who's a good listener, who's a good communicator that can help us stay on course. Because it's not always easy staying on course. I just talked about yesterday how it had been like 3 weeks since I had been to the gym. Well, I was doing a training for a little over a week. And then prior to that, I had just kind of fell off. And getting back on, you know, course with going to the gym, it's tough. But when you go back in and you see people who are still there, that's hope. I don't even know these people. Don't know their names, don't know anything about it, but just returning to that place And I see, oh yeah, there he is. Yeah, I remember, yeah, she's still here. That's good. Yep. Gee, look a little thinner over there too. My man, you're hanging in there. That's hope. That's hope. Right? But it's real important, right, that you look at where you're going spiritually. Right? I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about spiritually. Right? The healthiness of your core is important to me in a relationship. If you have an unhealthy core, you're not going to help me. You're going to make me sick. And I don't mean you make me sick like that, but you're going to cause me to be unhealthy as well if I continue to stay in it. Because of how you deal or not deal with situations that need to be dealt with in a healthier manner. And that goes back to I get stuck and I feel attached for a variety of reasons. Because it goes from love to attachment. You know, it's no longer us growing together. It's just a matter of we're together and this is just it. And it's like you can be at the end of the road in a relationship and still be in it, just sitting at the end of the road. Just sitting there. Just changing the station, but sitting in the same place. But you have like Sirius XM radio where you have hundreds of channels you can choose from, and you just keep changing the channel, but you're still sitting there at the end of the road. And after a while, you just get tired of hearing anything. You've heard the talk shows, and you've heard you've heard everything, and you just get sick of hearing it, and you just want to move from where you are. And that's exactly what happens in cases of attachment. Now, your urge to control and your inability to solve your own problems restricts your growth as well as your partner's. And I just got finished talking about this. Your unresolved issues cause unnecessary dependence upon your significant other. Not surprisingly, this restricts the growth of both parties and makes it difficult to love in a healthy way. And listen, I just got finished saying that. And again, I haven't read this article. I haven't read this article. It's the first time I'm going through this article. But it's been my experience. It's been my experience. Whether it's yours, not been yours, you're in denial about whether it's yours or not, it's totally up to you. It's been my experience. So a lot of things that I talk about in these shows, I've already been through. I've already been through. But I'm just, it's a matter of confirmation, right? Affirmation, right? So I can stay on course and maybe help somebody else. So if you think you got a perfect relationship, that's fine. That's fine. I'm not doubting that. I'm not doubting that they're in existence. I'm still looking. Right. It's a, and I really hate to shatter anyone's dream or illusion, but no relationship is perfect. It's just not going to be. Even the relationship with yourself is not going to be perfect. Think about it. Think about it. If my relationship with myself was that perfect, I wouldn't have a struggle with going to the gym. Right? Period. So there's things about myself that I continue to address, you know, and consistency is one of them. And being in unhealthy situations has impeded my course of consistency, and I'm working back toward being consistent, right? With everything. And they talked about it right here, right? How, because you won't work on your issues, because you don't problem solve well, right? You begin to transfer that same conduct towards me. And when I'm with you, because I love you, because I care about you, because I want to be with you, right? I continue to take it on the chin, because I should try to work things out. But when you get past that line, remember I talked about those boundary lines, when you get past that line of things can't be worked out no matter how much I try, then I need to be moving on. I need to be moving on, but I get stuck, just like anybody else. And it turns into attachment. It's familiar, it's comfortable, it's complacent, but it's inconsistent with what it is that you establish as very clear boundary lines for yourself. Very clear boundary lines for yourself. So I've been spending, of late, establishing boundary lines. This is unacceptable. That is unacceptable. I've been this route before. I'm not going that route again. And it's not a matter of an attitude, a negative attitude. right? Because this is where a lot of problems come in. We'll talk about that in another show. But this is where a lot of problems come in. Because when people have failed relationships, right? Or when people are in relationships that are failing, right? They begin to take this persona of an angry person, of an attitudinal person. And everybody who comes into the environment who may be a prime candidate for you gets pushed away. Because your boundaries have gotten this wide, whereas nobody can get to you. Establish boundary lines, right? But you should also understand what you're not going to accept, and because you're not going to accept them, it doesn't mean that you have to be disrespectful and rejectful of the other person. You can just move on. You know, it won't be a second date. Not, you know what, we had a pretty good time, but I just don't think that another date would be a good idea. Now, if they ask you, then you just tell them respectfully. You know, how they're just not in alignment with, you know, what it is that you're looking for in love. Right? But don't hit it first, then say that. You know, we get, I'm going to get it first. If I say anything, I don't want to make them mad. I don't want to tell them the truth right now. I tell them later. Right? So yeah, again, that goes right back to control. I'm not going to allow a situation again to impede my ability to continue to grow. I'm on a whole different course of action with what I do. You know, this is what I do. You know, side spot, the Wise View. And I'll be sending out an announcement later today about the Wise View. Because I did tell you, the Wise View will be back the end of February, beginning of March. I'm going to give you a date. Number 4, love is everlasting. Attachment is transient. Back to the article. Love survives the passage of time. Love survives the passage of time. You and your partner may ultimately break up, be it temporarily or permanently. If you are truly in love, however, that person will always have a place in your heart, and you will continue to wish them well for the rest of their life, whether we're together or not. See, that's the difference. That's the difference. If you were truly in love with the person, you will always want that person, you know, to have a good life, whoever they're with. And it just doesn't happen when we break up. It takes time to get there, especially if they did something to cause the breakup, right, to you. If they did it to you, right? It's a lot different when you do it to them. You can feel regretful or remorseful, but the core of the issue, right? Worst case scenario, you know, you messed up. You were living the way you were living. You messed up. You lost that. You could have loved that person, but real love is everlasting. And you probably love more of what could have been than the person themselves in comparison to who you're with now or who you've had after them. You follow what I'm saying? See, real love, true love, like, you'll feel that, period. And sometimes you can lose yourself in trying to get that person back, right? That's how regretful you are about the loss, right? And I'm not talking about, now I'm talking about in the sense that this person has done something, right? And you regret what they've done, right? You regret that they've done it because now the relationship has ended as a result of what they've done, right? And you just wish that they would have taken a different approach to the whole circumstance. And you still love them. And letting go is a process because you truly love them. But ultimately, you know, sometimes you have to love a person enough that you would let them go. in certain circumstances because they've crossed that boundary line. And that's the whole thing about all this, man. You know, is that if we enter into relationships without boundaries and then things begin to happen, like we really don't know what we should really be doing with it. And we try to figure it out along the way, and we find ourselves in this situation years down the line because we're still trying to figure out the boundaries. What kind of boundaries to establish. That's why it's important to establish boundaries. So you don't find yourself in these long-term, unhealthy, sick situations that bring you nothing. And you sit back 5-10 years from now and be like, man, if I wouldn't have been in this situation, I'd have had this. I'd have been there. I'd have been done that. You know? I wouldn't be in a situation where now I'm struggling with certain things. Now I don't want this anymore. Right now I can't get out of it. Now the situation becomes even sicker and unhealthier. On the other hand, if you were merely attached to them, you will likely hold resentments after the breakup. I'm at the article again. You may even experience feelings of betrayal. These feelings stem from the assumption that your partner had an obligation to make you happy, that in your eyes was not fulfilled. I'm telling you, man. Listen. I'm telling you from experience that this stuff is real. This stuff is real. Right? And it's usually, for me, it's usually not until the relationship is over that the person realizes that what I've been saying all the years that we were together is true. They're facts. But during the course of the relationship, because you're in denial about your own stuff, you don't want to address your own stuff, you want to keep blaming me for your condition along the way, right? You become resentful toward me, and say things to me. I take it on the chin, and then next thing you know, I'm still there or I'm gone, and still unhappy after all this time invested. But you're resentful because I didn't do what you wanted me to do, because that's what you thought I should do. And how did what you wanted me to do benefit us in our relationship? How? How did that help us? How would that situation have helped us? Right? What was the benefit for your growth and development? None. You just wanted to be that way. You have no valid reason for why you wanted this to be this way, or you said this, or you did that. You have no valid reason. Right? This goes back to number one on the list, was you're just selfish. And selfishness, right, runs rampant in relationships. And it just doesn't get addressed like it should. If a person is selfish, they're selfish. Period. They're not just selfish with this one thing. They're selfish. Selfish is in the core. Selfish is situational. Right? Selfish people have it in their core to be that way, and they will always be that way in every situation. Selfless people are always willing to give of themselves, and they are always that way.